Hi, I'm Criss Eclectic TLLC on Fiverr, and I'm the Eclectic Tech. I'm going to introduce you to a few of the important features in Scrivener today. So let's launch Scrivener. And I had a document open. Let's close that. Okay, this is what you'll see if it's your first launch. Let's start with a blank document. Give it a name. This is what your blank template comes up looking like. This is called the binder. This whole section here, you can hide and show the binder. Inside the binder we have your main document, drafts, and you have a research folder. You can have other folders in the binder. Let's select draft first. This is group mode. When you have a group of documents, when you have selected a folder, the group mode takes over. So if I were to go back to my untitled document, it's back in the normal. Go back to group. Now it's the group mode. This is called the corkboard. The corkboard can be used to create your draft documents. So let's say this is my chapter 1. Now watch what happens in the binder. See, it changed to chapter 1. I'm going to write the story starts here. I'm going to make a new one. So I'm doing Command N. If you're on Windows, it's probably Control N. Chapter 2. The problem develops. Create a new one. Chapter 3. Even more complications. And then Chapter 4. Introduce the villain. We got 4 chapters in our book. We can say, you know what? How about we introduce the villain here? It won't renumber the chapter for me. I probably would have given it a title rather than chapter 4. But you can see I've rearranged it, and now the one that was the last chapter is now the second chapter. That's how easy it is to rearrange your story. You can create folders inside of your binder. So this is part 1 of the book. And the first 4 chapters are in part 1. When I select part 1, I can see these. When I select draft, I see part 1 all bundled up. There's another group mode. Well, there's 2 others. Okay, let's say I've got draft selected and I want to go to outline mode. Same deal. I'm seeing everything inside of the draft folder. So I see part 1. I want to start part 2. The build up of the conflict. And then inside of part 2, which I'm going to open, I want to create some documents in there for scenes. And then I'm going to create another folder, and that will be part 3. And then this is the resolution. And I create one in there. And this is the big clash, because that really is where the resolution starts. Everything hits the fan. So you can see it's pretty easy to outline your book here. Just keep adding new documents and putting in your titles and your summaries for your different titles. So now one more mode, group mode. Now I'm ready to write. Okay, what are all these lines, right? The lines represent all the different documents. So it's kind of hard to tell where you're at in this mode. Let's open the inspector. When we're in the inspector, we're in part 1. Okay, we want to move down to the chapter starting here. No, let's go down one more. We want, oh yeah, chapter 1. Yeah, that's the one we want. Okay, so we're in chapter 1 now. Without necessarily having to, if we select it, it goes to single chapter mode. If we stay in drafts, all of them are visible. I happen to have some text on my clipboard. So now chapter 1 has some text in it. you can see the icon changed, right? From in a blank document is just this. A document that has a synopsis turns into an index card. Once it has text in the document, it becomes this little icon with words in it, the page document with words in it. I can automatically tell from the icons in the sidebar what state my document is currently in. I can add whatever notes I want here. I can even put more information in my synopsis. I can say this is a chapter and we're on our first draft, and so on. I want my chapters to break on a new page. I can change the status and stuff. And when I go to the next chapter, all those things disappear because chapter 4 doesn't have any of that stuff yet. So this is still a to-do. And then this one, status would be first draft because I'm going to write something in there. Let's go back to outline mode and see what's happening here. Okay, let's open these up so we can see them. Now I can tell automatically I'm in my first draft in these 2 chapters. I still have to do this one. So there's other things you can do. You can play around with this and add other columns here so you can see other stats. That's the important part there. Okay, so we're going to go back to writing mode. And now we can see all of our scenes starting to shape up. Our corkboard mode, we have to actually select which section and part we want to see because it only shows one level down. If I decide the resolution comes before the build-up, which would be silly, but if I decide to swap here part 1 in between the build-up, this would be like the major conflict. And then the resolution. Oh wait, that means that the big clash should probably be in this part here. That's probably the last chapter in part 1. We're going to move that here. And then we start the resolution in part 3. You can move things around easily, much easier than in Microsoft Word. So when you're working on a big project, a big complicated project, and not even necessarily fiction, I'm just using that as an example. This is wonderful for self-help, business, technical manuals, how-tos, and so on, because you could have a project 1, and then you could have all your steps in the project. And if you decide, oh, wait a minute, I should put that step first, you could just swap it. So that makes doing larger projects much easier. Dissertations, theses, academic papers, scientific papers, and so on. This is much easier to juggle all of your little parts. I use it for blog posts. I use it for boilerplate portions of contracts and project agreements. I'm even using it on Fiverr when clients come to me with rewriting. I have a folder for each client in my Scrivener, and I can automatically see all the old projects that I've done for that customer when they come back. They're all in there. There's 2 different ways of seeing more than one document at the same time. Let's say I'm writing chapter 2, but I need chapter 1 open at the same time. I'm going to drag that up to my quick reference panel and pop it out and keep it on the side. So now I can refer back to this. Let's say we have a piece of research here. Research document. So I'm writing this chapter. I have a research document here. So I'm going to pop open a second panel. And I'm going to click down here and open up my research document. And there's my research. So I can be writing up here while I'm looking at my research down there. Or I'm looking at another chapter over here. Maybe I have a character template, maybe a photo, whatever it is, I can have all these different panels open. So let's not make it too complicated. Okay, let's get rid of this one and just keep our document open. All right, so we're back. We're back in normal land. If you want to see your page size, click on Wrap. That'll show you how it'll wrap on a real sheet of paper. So you got all this stuff. You've got all these features. But what do you do when you're done? Well, you can select your draft and you can go to Compile. Compile takes all of the parts of the project, and you can pick and choose if you need to. but it takes all of the parts of your project and it will assemble them all into one big document. If I want all the chapters to start on a new page, so chapter 3, okay, and these are all chapters. And we want the parts on a new page too, so the part pages. So now we have many different formats we can export in. You're probably most interested in PDF or in Word document. You may also want EPUB or Kindle ebook or even iBooks author chapters. Maybe you're doing web pages. Maybe you're doing WordPress and you have blog articles that you want to do in rich text format or in just plain old multi-markdown MM files. Let's go back to Word. We've got everything in here. We want to compile it. We're going to save it over my old document. And now I'm going to use a quick method of getting to that folder. Here we go. And you can see we've got one big long document that's made up of everything that we just did. My least favorite thing of Scrivener is how it exports and what it looks like when it exports. So you would send this to somebody like me who does document formatting for a living. And then that's it. You know, you can do whatever you need to with the document. Okay, so one last thing. If you just need to export 1 or 2 chapters, you can select it and go to Export Files. And you can export it in almost all of those formats. So you can make it a Microsoft Word document and so on. And hit Export and you'll have the one document. You don't have to save. When you close Scrivener, it automatically saves all your projects. It also periodically saves your projects. But if you want to save, you can. And you can close the document. It'll save it when you close it too. And so you don't have to worry about losing your precious words. My name is Criss Itterman. I'm Eclectic Tech LLC, or I'm Eclectic TLLC on Fiverr. Check in the video notes below for a link to my Fiverr profile and a link to my website.